Hey, welcome back to Couples Drive, where married couples share their stories from when they met, courted, got married, and beyond. I'm your host, Atuboyan. This week, we're picking up from where we left off with Joycelyn and Harry, and this is part 2 of my ride with them. Take a look. Joycelyn, I mean, you're a family therapist, right?
Yes.
That's your profession. And Harry says something that I think is very important. Like, when you live with your parents and you move from that household to get married, it's different. Mm-hmm. He lived as a single guy by himself, and you lived with your parents. So from your professional point of view, do you think that plays a role, living with your parents and moving out?
I think living with your parents for your formative years does make a huge difference, right? Because they are, in a sense, consciously, subconsciously forming who you are, right? They are giving you traits, personalities, and all these things that become a part of who you are.
Okay.
Then when you move out, you're then now forming who you are outside of the family base, right? You're creating your own identity, you're creating your own friends, you're becoming yourself. There are some people like my dear husband here, who is a very independent person, right? It's a point where we were dating, at times I would call him, his mom would call me looking for him, because he became so independent that he wouldn't call anybody, you know? And it was like, okay, Harry. So when we got married, his independent part and his family trait part started to connect. Meaning, there are parts of him because of his family that are quiet, right? That he doesn't talk. But then the independence that he learned is to be very independent and on his own over here started to become a problem. Because he's so independent and he's not a talker, when conflict comes, he can sit by himself and just be okay and not talk. Right? So formative years and independent years coming together start to reveal themselves in marriage in different ways. So that's what I think.
Do you think, like, being raised by a single parent or being raised by a guardian, not necessarily your biological parent, does that also, affect the way you walk into a marriage?
I think it's subjective, right? There's some people, let's say mom and dad weren't there, but then they had somebody who was a figure in their life, or somebody who showed them what marriage was. I think that there's some people who can be single parents, be raised by single parents, and go into marriage and be like, no, I don't want that. So because I don't want that, I'm going to do everything to make sure that that doesn't happen, right? And it's a hard thing because it's not something that you saw. And then there are some people who are like, I don't want that, but become exactly that. Right? So it's that, it goes back to that intentionality. I really think that anything in life is really intentional. What do you want this to be? Irregardless of circumstances that have happened around you, right? And really working towards that. So I think it depends. I think it's really subjective on the person and the situation that they find themselves in, because they can be married to somebody who does not understand them and does not make that process of them and being intentional work. Right? So,
to piggyback on what your wife just said, do you think, growing, if you were not that independent, things would have been a bit more easier? Like if you lived primarily with your parent before you moved in with Joycelyn?
Yes, I think it will be different. Because, as I was saying, if you live with your parents, there is a sense of accountability, even though you live with them. You are home. If you are not home, your parents would like to know where you are. When are you coming home? But if you live by yourself, nobody even knows where you are. You go when you go, you come when you come. You understand? Right. So that would have been easy, because you are moving from one accountability to a different accountability. Even though your wife is not your parent, but out of respect, you have to let her know where you're going, what you're doing, where you are, and all that. By you being by yourself and getting married, it's like all of a sudden somebody's checking behind you, and that becomes a problem. You understand? So that I think that is the main difference of being independent or living as a single guy and getting married and moving right from your parents and getting married. Yeah, that makes a smoother transition because of that accountability piece.
People normally say that the first few years of marriage tends to be the most difficult. Would you guys agree, and have you guys really gone through any difficulty in the first few years of your marriage?
The first, I put it the first 5 years of marriage. The first 5 years of marriage, I think, is the most difficult make or break year. I think if your marriage will go down the drain is the first 5 years.
Statistics show that too.
Yes, I think even people who divorce after 5 years, maybe the marriage is already done within the 5 years. They were just hanging on to it, and then after 5 years, they just let it go.
Yeah.
Because if you're building a house, right, nobody sees the foundation, but that is where you have to put the more concrete in to hold the house. You understand? And the first years of your marriage, I think, is the foundational years. And if somebody wants to weaken the marriage, bringing our Christianity in, if the devil wants to weaken the marriage, is the first 5 years, because that is the foundation. So that is when he can weaken the marriage. Secondly, even in the physical side, that is when you are both finding yourselves, because you just moved in together. So you are now figuring yourself out. Right. So there are a lot of conflicts that come with figuring yourself out. So it brings a lot of challenges. You understand? For us, one of the biggest challenges, as I said, was the accountability part. If I go back to that, it's about me just being myself. I don't want anybody to know who I am. I go when I go, I come when I come. That was my biggest challenge. You understand? And figuring things out, like especially when children come in. Having the time to spend with your family, because you drop the kids, you go to work, you come back, you go pick them. You try to put them to sleep. By the time you realize, you yourself will be asleep before they even go to sleep. So having that balance and getting that communication with your wife. If you don't take care, by the end of that 5 year, that communication would have broken down, and you guys don't talk as you used to, or you guys don't even see eye to eye. You understand? So after that, you get people who are just holding on to their marriage, or some people who just say, I'm just tired of it, let me just leave.
Yeah.
So the first 5 years, or the initial years of your marriage, I think is very, very important. Yes.
At what point in your mind did you think you guys actually hit that snag? Was it the first, second, or third?
I think for me, let me think. When did we hit that patch?
Second year.
No, for you it was second year. For you, Mr. Independent, it was second year. I think, okay, so when I moved down here, right, he was working at, oh my goodness, he was working. So imagine, we're married, it's busy season, he leaves at 6, doesn't come back home till sometimes 1 a.m., and I'm like, what is this? I did not sign up for this. I'm also the kind of person, part of our conversations when we were recording was, I told him, I do not want him taking a job that he travels. He knew. Even if they're going to pay $1 million, tell them my wife said no. I cannot take the job. Because I know what my needs are, right? I know the kind of marriage I wanted, so I definitely talked to him about it and told him. And it felt like it was falling on deaf ears a little bit, because at that time, like I said, he's a processor. He needs to be able to think and process and come up with a solution. But I wanted him to give me immediate answers. Right. And it wasn't possible, right? So the more they use the term stonewalled. The more he stonewalled in his trying to think, the more I came out stronger trying to get an answer, and then I felt neglected.
Okay.
So that's when, for me, I think maybe, and we got married in July, and busy season started in January. So maybe July, August, September, November. Wait, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. 6 months. So 6 months into the marriage when I really started to feel like, what are you talking about? And then we were trying to have a baby at that point in time too. So it was just a lot. So, then I had a really bad pregnancy where I couldn't go outside. And I was sick. So I was by myself in the house all the time. And he's coming home at 1 o'clock in the morning, or I wouldn't hear from him all day. And there were days where like I'd have to be in the hospital. He would come to the hospital and then have to leave because he has to go to work. And I'm like, I'm dying. Like, your work can wait. You know?
So how did you guys adjust?
He quit his job. He had to. He had to quit. It was one of those things where it was like, yeah. Okay. Well, he didn't quit. But.
And I think one thing is also communication.
Yeah.
You know, when you guys talk a lot, you realize the pain the other person is feeling. At times when you guys don't talk, and not talking as in being silent, but if it's just complain, you don't see the pain. You feel like she's always just complaining. But if you actually have a time and sit down and talk, that is when you realize that the person is hurting. So you have to do something about it. Yeah. So I think more dialogue, more talking. And also I think when we had our baby, it got to a point to realize we were not really having time for ourselves. So we consciously made that effort to, like, what are we doing? What is our way forward? So I think
who brought that up?
It was both of us realized we needed that. So I think it was one Christmas, I think the 2015 Christmas or 2016 Christmas. So on 31st, after we came back from church, we had a family meeting, to talk about the things we are all going through and what we would like to see going forward. So that conversation really, really helped us. That dialogue really helped us. We know where everybody stood and what was going on and how to move forward.
And that's something I actually learned in grad school about the power of evaluation, right? Okay. There are people who we all work, we're all employed. And at some point in your job, you get an evaluation. And sometimes the evaluation you get is really hard to hear, right? But if you love the job and you value the job, you do what? You go back and you try to implement those hard conversations that were had. So why don't we do that for our own marriages? When we hear these hard things, and these are people we love, not jobs. People that we've said for better, for worse, for better, for worse too. To be able to definitely hear those things and make those adjustments and make those changes. So yeah, we try to sit in like the 31st, do evals, as a family. So.
Did you guys seek outside counsel?
Yes,
we did.
Who prompted that? Who initiated that?
She initiated that.
Why? I mean, you were a family therapist. At what point did you feel the need for that?
When I felt like he wasn't hearing me, right? And I felt like maybe an outside person could hear me and then tell him what I'm trying to say. And I think at first, just the professional in me and not really wanting to engage other people, the professional in me first sought like a professional therapist, I sought out a Christian therapist. But it was difficult, and this is part of why I went into the field of therapy, was because there are cultural components that come with us. And as much as the therapist we saw really wanted to help, he just could not get the cultural pieces of it, and he was just so lost and he couldn't understand. So I was like, okay, God, I need you to lead us to people who are going to really help us, kind of get out of this rut. And I say pray because as much as I believe in seeking counsel, I believe in seeking the right counsel, right? It's not anybody and everybody that you should be sharing your business with or blasting your business to. It's no. So one of the things that we did pray that God would lead us to people that would really understand our situation, our season, and really be able to help us move out of it, so.
And the persons or the person we saw, they are not just professional counselors, they are also brothers. So they are like people we know. That we talk to. So they became something like a mentor to us. So we occasionally talk to them, visit them, have conversation with them. And I think the good piece about that is that when you talk to people like that who are like brothers and professionally they do therapy also, and you realize that they're also going through the same thing.
Exactly.
So with that that it's not something alien. You understand? It's something that everybody's working towards. You are not the one who only feels that kind of way. I think that's one thing that also helped us, that it wasn't just us that is feeling that. you know, every marriage goes through that.
Yeah, every
you know,
marriage.
And that helped us. That really helped us. Yeah.
There is this belief that, you know, whatever happens in your marriage, you keep it to yourself, right? You don't go and broadcast it. You don't share it with people. You pray about it, especially if you are a Christian.
Yeah.
And you both are saying it is important that you share. Can you, first of all, Joycelyn, speak to me from a professional point of view? How important do you think counseling is? And then Harry will tell me from the cultural point of view as well.
Counseling should be on every couple's to-do list. Pre-counseling before you get married and post is the most important, right? Because you are going to become two people. And sometimes you need that mediator, right? That person who can hear things that maybe your husband is not willing to hear or you're not willing to hear and really help you guys mediate your thoughts. Because sometimes as a couple, you get stuck in this rock where you can't really figure things out and you're both taking your stance. I'm not moving, so forget it, right? But sometimes that counseling person comes in to help you really think about the process. Okay, what's going on? Refocusing on the fact that the both of you are not enemies. You are on one team. So how do we get back to being team players? Right? Okay. And having those hard conversations and challenging those things that we keep trying to sweep under the rug. They really bring it to light. Like, we got to deal with this. Right? What's going on? And I think that's what's important, especially with like premarital counseling. I think premarital counseling is a blessing that people are missing out on, especially when it's done right. Because premarital counseling, you begin to talk about things that are to come, right? And I know that, so I'm certified and I do Prepare and Enrich. And with Prepare and Enrich, what we do is that it gets an assessment of the couple.
Can you repeat that?
Oh, I'm a certified Prepare and Enrich trainer. So basically, with Prepare and Enrich, it's an inventory, and I don't like to call it an assessment tool. I call it inventory. Inventory is taking stock of what you already have, right? So it takes an inventory of where the couple is at that point in time. It gives you a snapshot of, okay, these are the things that are growth areas mean areas that as a couple you may need to grow in and learn, right? And then areas that are strength areas. So these are areas that you guys already kind of got down packed and solid. So it shows you, okay, let's say for example, I'm in a family. Let me give you a legit example. And I use this example all the time because it's real. I grew up in a family where money was hard. I had to save to even buy anything. I married somebody who is in a family where money is not a thing. They can spend whenever they want to spend. So the assessment will show us this, right? Let's say we don't take it serious and we get married. I see this all the time. Because money is hard for me, I hold on to money like it's anything and everything.
Right.
My husband doesn't have that same problem. So he's spending money. And then every time he spends, I get mad. Not because I'm mad at him, but because of my experiences with money.
Okay.
So I think couples should really, really try to invest in premarital counseling and try to begin the conversation before you even get into marriage.
But to say something to add to her before I go to the culture part, with my experience now, I think the post-marriage counseling or the enriched part of the prepared and enriched, for me, is more important than the pre-counseling. The reason why I'm saying that is that the pre-marriage counseling, right, at that point in time, is the lovey-dovey side. People are in love and they just want to get it done with and, you know, get on to their wedding. So people are not really putting much effort into it. So it's more like, okay, let's get it over with and then put on our rings. But with the enriched part or with the post-marriage counseling, people are at a point that, okay, I'm done, I'm leaving, or I don't know what to do anymore. So they come fully out and say everything that is on their heart and on their mind, for the counselor to really help them solve what they need to solve.
And they listen more sometimes.
They listen more. Yeah. You understand? Because somebody's at the point that
the reality that
they think that something is broken. Yeah. They want to fix it. So they are open to listen more than the pre-counseling side. On the cultural side that we're talking about, you know, trust. I think that is one thing that we also struggle with. But the first thing you have to build is trust. we don't want to mention names, but the persons that we talk to, there are two of them actually, and we build that trust with them. And as I said, when I go to them and they are telling me about things that are going on in their marriage, not the fairy tale things, but actual things. Somebody just tells me that, hey, this is Sunday in the morning, even my wife was having an argument with me to church because we were late. They are telling me the realities of their marriage. It makes it easier for me to open up to them.
Right.
You understand? So building that trust comes first. The sad thing is that most of the time in our culture, people only tell you about the good times they have in their marriage. So with that, you also feel bad to bring the bad side of your marriage to them.
Right.
And that makes it difficult for couples to open up to people. Because people just want to show that, hey, we are the best couples and you are the one struggling. I think that is the worst part or the bad part when it comes to our culture.
Right.
So I think building trust will help us a lot. And that will help us mentor those who are, getting married, the young ones who are coming into marriage. If we let them know that, hey, every marriage struggles, especially in their first years of marriage. You understand? And then we will help them go navigate through that. We can't help you not to have troubles at all. The troubles will come, but the trust will help the person, help you navigate through it. So for me, I think that having that trusted person or trusted persons will help you navigate through. If I come to you at all and then I'm coming to tell you something about my marriage, right?
Okay.
And all the examples you are giving me are other people's marriages, I won't open up to you because you use me as an example to somebody else.
That's very insightful. Yeah, you become a statistics.
Yes, you understand.
You become a number to my stats.
If I come and all the examples and all the things you're telling me, it's about your own experiences, that makes me open up easily.
But I think and going back to what we're talking about why we don't, right, encourage people to. I've sat in traditional engagements where the advice of the hour is, do not tell your marriage issues to anybody. And then the young wives that I'm sitting with, I'm like, no, you will die. Like, we say it amongst ourselves so quietly, like, no, you will die, right? But that is the advice we're getting from a lot of older.
Yes, but I think that advice, I think then maybe
there should be a subset.
They are taking that advice wrong. That advice is, don't just go and sit in the middle of your friends and every business that is going on in your family, you take it there. That is how I see the advice. I don't think it means that, okay, if you're going through something, you shouldn't share with somebody to get, a good advice to navigate through.
I think that's how it's understood, though. I think that it's being understood as, don't open up to anybody, right? And that is where the issue is, because you're right. I do not believe in you opening up about what's going on in your marriage with everybody. No way. That is very unhealthy to even begin with, right? Where it's the point where just anybody that will give you an ear, you will tell them.
Yeah.
Because those are the same people that will come back and use it against you. And those are the same people that will not forgive you if you forgive your husband or wife.
Yeah.
Right? So yes, you have to definitely use wisdom as you decide who am I going to talk to. And it just kind of a little bit of disclosure. I think that for us, and we talk about this on our website, a little bit of what we did was, for me, I'll own it, was trying to get my parents, especially my dad, because I know that, Harry respected my dad, to kind of talk to him, and kind of maybe say, okay, this is how my daughter's feeling. Because I felt like my dad knew me best. My dad had watched me grow up. He knows my heart. He knows my intentions. So maybe he's going to be able to explain the intentions more to Harry better than I'm explaining what I need, and parents are parents. As much as, they love and want your significant other, they also are going to be hurt by it a little bit. So
finding a good counselor to talk to me, it's not easy. How do you start? Or where do you start?
So is it that you want professional counseling or you want a mentor? Because I think those are two different things in my mind, right? So when we talk about the professionality of it in counseling, counselors don't always, most times will not tell you this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to figure out. No, they will sit there and figure it out with you. It's a collaborative team. Your counselor's not going to tell you most times that, oh, I went through this in my marriage. They're not. It's a very, okay, it's a safe space. And the reason why they do that is because they don't want you to feel the burden of their issues on yours, right? They're supposed to be the one who's supposed to be there to support you on all that stuff. Mentorship is where it's somebody who's on the same level as you. Somebody that's going to be able to share, hey, I get you. I've gone through this. You know, we made it. When I was getting trained for my certification, the guy who did the training, he stood up and he's the one who actually gave me the idea for the restoration is possible idea that I do. And he talked about him and his wife had been married for 68 years. And he said at some point in their marriage, he was unfaithful to his wife. And his wife was also unfaithful to him because she found out. And I sat in that room. I was like, how are you still married after 68 years? And he was so happy. Like, you could genuinely tell this man was happy in his marriage. And he was like, because restoration is possible. And because it's hard work and you have to want it to work. And he talks about how the couples that he mentors, he can tell them. So he does what's called crisis mentoring. And those are couples who are in crisis, literally, like the marriage is almost over. And the fact that him and his wife can sit across from the couple and be like, you know what? We made it. You can too. That's the mentorship part. Where they meet with them regularly, they pray together, they go out and eat. You can never go out with your professional therapist or counselor. Right? So, that's the part.
Yeah, for me, I like the mentorship part. And as you said, finding that is very, very difficult, especially in our community, because everybody wants to just paint the best part of their marriage to you, not the other part.
Or not even share it.
Or they don't even want to share the details of their marriage. So it's very difficult. But as I said, there are also people out there who are willing to help, who are willing to mentor people. You know, because I've been talking to a couple of people who are very open to share because they've gone through these things and they know that they are married for like 10, 12 years, but they know that people who are married for 2 years, 3 years, they are going through those and they are struggling. And you know, if you've been through those struggles, when you see people going through it, you know they want to help, but they don't know how to help. You understand? So getting closer to those people, and as I said, look for somebody who is willing to help, not somebody who is just wanting to listen to you and go tell other people.
Hey, welcome back. That was part 2 and the final part of my ride with Joycelyn and Harry. And I hope you learned something from them for your own relationship and your own marriage. Please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook pages so that you will be notified once new videos are posted. I'll see you next week with another couple. Until then, let's keep love alive. Bye.